Hello everyone, my name is Katie and you're watching my channel Superconsole, where today I'm going to be doing a quick guide on the best methods and places to import a Japanese 3DS. So recently, as some of you might know, I got back from Japan and like an idiot, I didn't buy a Japanese 3DS when I was out there. So I decided to import one when I got back. Now, I picked up this slightly vom-inducing see-through 2DS. It's a bit of a beast, right? But it was cheap and I got it because I thought it'd be a great way of revising my Japanese, playing some games I can't get hold of here in the West, and generally because I really wanted it. So here's a guide. Before I start, any websites or links or anything that I mention will be down in the description, so check down there. But before I get into the how to import, I'm first going to talk about why to import. Now, as a lot of you know, Nintendo 3DS unfortunately is region locked, which is particularly frustrating as it means I can't, for example, play Japanese games on my European console and vice versa, which is particularly frustrating as there's some great games out there that have never made it over here. For example, Daigyaku Sensei Naruhodo Runsoke no Boken, the great Ace Attorney to you and I, which is one of those Ace Attorney games that was set in a kind of Sherlock Holmes style vibe. It looked awesome, one of those games that I've been wanting to import for a long time now. There's also games like the Taiko Drum games. I mean, how much do we want those here? Anybody who's been to Japan, been to the arcades, played a bit of Taiko drumming will know that it's such a disappointment that we can't play it here. So those are two very good reasons already why you should import. So now I've sold you on the concept of importing. Now the first place you're going to go to try and buy one is probably Amazon. Let's face it, it's the first stop for many online shopping adventures out there. If you go on Amazon.jp, you'll load up your cart, think everything's going great. When you come to actually trying to buy it, things get harder because Amazon.jp for the most part only deliver inside Japan, which is really annoying and it isn't quite obvious when you're making an account. Now there are a couple of Amazon marketplace sellers which will ship outside of Japan, however the customs and taxes and shipping that come with that are horrendous. Now there are ways around this. Enter the world of forwarding services like Nopin or Tenso. I'm sure a few of you have heard of these before. Now these are companies who basically set you up with your own Japanese postal address. It was part of their warehouse. You order online on Amazon.jp as normal, it ships to your special Tenso or Nopin address, and then they kind of check your goods, charge you a small handling fee, which really isn't that bad, and then they forward it on to your home address, which is great and it works very well. I've heard some great stuff about Tenso in particular. I haven't used them personally, but I know lots of people who have. It kind of depends on what you're buying about whether or not it's worth going through forwarding services. It might work out cheaper, it might just be cheaper to go on PlayAsia. It just depends on whatever you're buying. If you're buying things like 3DS or 2DS, which, you know, are an expensive item but are quite light and small to ship, it's probably worth it. But if you're trying to buy something bulkier, then maybe not. If you're not keen on forwarding services, then maybe consider other import sites like PlayAsia. Now, I find personally PlayAsia really expensive. I looked on there recently where I was going to buy my 2DS, and with the actual item price and then the shipping, it was coming out as nearly double what I could buy on Amazon.jp. So it's something to be aware of. I know people are a big fan of PlayAsia when it comes to pre-orders, but personally, not for me. Now my personal favourite sites to go to are Amiami and Nippon Yasan. Now Amiami is really good for figurines and games but sells out quickly, and I don't think they stock consoles if they do at all. But Nippon Yasan is probably my favourite import site of all. Now it's a lot slower than most of the sites, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. There's so many shipping options. I recently tried out their new option, which is Translogistics, where they basically wait for all your loads of orders to come in to the same kind of region, bundle them all together, then ship them out to another partner, and then it comes to you. It took about a month to get my 2DS, but all of the shipping charges were prepaid, all of the taxes, everything. I didn't get hit with a really scary, expensive charge through the post, which I have in the past, and was horrific. So by going with a website like Nippon Yasan, who kind of deal with that all before, I feel like it takes away the gamble a bit. But of course, it does work out more expensive when you're ordering, so swings and roundabouts. Now there are some things to be aware of before you race off and order your own Japanese 3DS or 2DS, and one of those things is the plugs. Now of course, Most of them except from the LLs I think, come with a charger, but it's a Japanese one. Now, just don't forget to either order a converter, or if you already have a 3DS or a 2DS, you can actually use your European plugs on them, they work fine. Number 2, if you've had a bit of a drama about lithium batteries and people not getting their 3DSs or whatever through the post, it's true there was a rule some time ago where you couldn't order anything that contained lithium batteries outside of Japan. They'd kind of get stuck in customs, sent back, and they need to get charged, and wow, it was a big hoo-ha. But that's kind of been resolved now. There are some new regulations about lithium batteries. I think you just can't order like millions. Worth checking before you order anything, but I got mine with absolutely no problems, no mention of it. So basically, just don't worry about it. Number 3, good news is that unlike PSN, foreign credit cards do work on the Japanese eShop, which means you can shop around to your heart's desire. You can, of course, still buy Nintendo points if you want. Sites like Nippon Yasan, PlayAsia, all the others do a kind of thing where they send you a code within 24 hours, so you have to wait for them to ship out a little piece of paper to you, which is great. But the whole credit card thing does make things a lot easier, and if you can download as many digital games as possible rather than importing physical boxes, obviously that's going to make life a lot cheaper for you. Number 4 is pre-owned games. Now, Japanese gamers are one of the most tidy and clean gamers I've ever known. I used to work in the high street retailer, and I did that chore of getting in pre-owned games, having to clean all the discs. My word, we are grimy. Tell you what, Xbox 360 players were the grimiest. PS4 slightly cleaner, but generally Japanese gamers are pretty tidy and look after their stuff, which means, good news, there's pretty much no fear of ordering pre-owned games. They're gonna come pretty tidy. That means if you want to order any off eBay, go ahead. I'd seriously recommend it. I've bought loads of Japanese pre-owned games in the past. They've worked perfectly, they've been super clean. Most of them still have their like DLC still inside. Literally, go for it. Pre-owned games, it's going to save you a load of money, so get on it. Another hand tip is that Nippon Yasan actually do stock pre-owned games, so get them from there if you want. I appreciate I am starting to sound a bit like a Nippon Yasan salesperson, but it's just because they've been so good to me in the past, so it's just my high recommendation. Last but not least, number 5, I really would ask you to consider the language barrier. There's plenty of guides online to help you set up your 3DS or your 2DS, so there's no problem there. But when it actually comes to what games you want to play, think about the kind of games that you like. Now, if you're like me and you're really into visual novels, think about the fact that they're really text heavy and you're not going to get much out of it if you don't speak or read Japanese. If you're into more kind of less story based, more action, great. My key advice would be watch gameplay trailers. Check if they do have furigana above the kanji, or maybe check if they kind of use more hiragana than kanji in general. If you're wanting to play games like Pokemon or Yokai Watch, then great, go ahead, it's going to be good for you. You're going to learn lots of stuff, it's going to be great revision. But if you are thinking about ordering in the next Bravely Default or Psycho Pass or some really text-heavy games, just think about it first. Think about how much you're really going to get out of it and if you're going to play it at all, because it's a waste otherwise, right? So I hope you found that helpful, and maybe you're going to consider importing your own Japanese 3DS or 2DS. Let me know if you do and which one you pick. Let me know if you've got any questions about this in general or have any tips to share with beautiful comments down below. Thanks very much. See you next time.